Hey guys, before we get into the video, I just wanted to remind you that I have a Twitter account over at carthusdojo. Head over there, follow me, send a tweet at me, and I'll reply right away, and we can have a cool discussion about Dragon Ball. If you want to have a voice chat discussion, check out the Discord. The link's in the description. You get invited right away. As long as you behave yourself somewhat, you can stay around. Alright, now, video intro. Hello everyone, I'm Carthu and welcome back to the dojo. Today, we have to discuss some breaking news about the Dragon Ball Super movie. Now, I'm not sure if any of you were expecting any different. I was, because of how the series was progressing in the past, but basically, it's all but confirmed that Gogeta is in the Dragon Ball Super Broly movie. Now, some of you may be wondering, where is this information coming from? There's been no promo of Gogeta in terms of a character sheet or a poster or anything like that. He hasn't been in a trailer. There hasn't even been another trailer since the first one. So, what's going on? Where does this information come from? The basic gist of the situation is that we have two sources sort of confirming this. The first source was the Xenoverse DLC that was data mined. This data mined DLC had Kefla, Broly from the movie, because the other Brolys are already in, so this is Dragon Ball Super Broly, the new one, and also a character that had both attacks of Vegeta and Goku in his arsenal, leading many to speculate that this is a fusion of the two, Gogeta. There's also a recent interview that happened, and this interview was with an animator, Yoshihiko Umakoshi, and this interview had him confirm himself as an animator on the movie, which is very good news. He's a very prolific animator. He was once on Dragon Ball Z, twice in 2 episodes of Dragon Ball Z, but nothing really more than that in terms of Dragon Ball involvement. But he didn't just say that, he also said that he's been practicing Gogeta. Now that's very interesting. Why even bother to say that? Why practice Gogeta of all things for your involvement on a movie? Now, jokingly, I could say that he's practicing Gogeta so that way he could practice Vegeta and Goku at the same time, but that's a little dishonest, isn't it? It seems all but certain that Gogeta is in this movie, and then you take into account an animation supervisor on this movie, a fan favorite of Dragon Ball Super the anime, Yuya Takahashi, posted an image, a drawing of his, of Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta. Now, that in itself is not evidence. He does do a lot of drawings. That'd be like saying, Super Saiyan 2 Gohan, or Gohan throughout his entire life is in the movie because he drew that. No, I'm not saying that, but I'm saying the inspiration for these things does seem to crop up from nearby circumstances. For an example, that Gohan image I was just mentioning that should be on the screen right now, the caption is "Grow Up." And the time that this happened, the time that he drew this and posted it, was right after Team 4 Star's episode 60, where Android 16 gave his speech and told Gohan to grow up and not be a coward. Now, it's very speculated that Yuya Takahashi actually saw that episode and then drew this, but we don't know that for sure. My point being that he usually draws things when it's nearby to what he's actually drawing. Otherwise, he seems to like to practice and then show that practice online. So we could, again, speculate that Gogeta is in the movie. I'm not saying Super Saiyan 4, because that'd be, again, like saying that Ultimate Gohan was in the Cell arc, which he obviously wasn't. The interpretation of the scene is something that he takes into account, and, sort of just having fun doing little drawings for his Twitter. Beyond that, we also have the Psycho Jump editorial office telling us that, frankly, the enemy Goku and Co. are up against in this movie is the strongest. Those who trust Goku will win may lose confidence, so be careful. Now, this power that they have to face is so great that we cannot trust Goku to actually win the day. Does that also imply fusion? That aside the evidence that we have previously mentioned, sure, I think it does. But as a singular piece of evidence, no, it could imply that someone else takes the win that isn't Goku, or that the villain wins. That's besides the point, though, because we do have that prior evidence. So, all these factors combined, and it does seem like we are getting Gogeta in this movie. And to finish off this video, I'd like to tell you what I think about it. Fusion, as I've said many times, is an end-of-series mechanic that works at the end of a series. I probably will do another video really deeply explaining why that's the case, but just know that's what it is. It's something that works when the series is about to conclude because it doesn't impact the future of the villains and the series and the power. You see, if you have fusion in the series as something that is easily accessible, well, you have an issue of power, you have an issue of villains needing to be to a certain level of strength, so that way it leaves some sort of expectation. We can't have villains too weak so that the fusion could slaughter it, and we don't have villains that are too strong that the base users by themselves individually can't do anything to them. There's a weird balance you'd have to hit there, and I don't think it's really possible to hit considering how much of a jump fusion is in terms of raw power. But what else about fusion just sort of doesn't do it for me? Well, it's old. It's a mechanic that was introduced decades ago. It's not something new and interesting. It doesn't take the characters and put them in a position where they have to think outside the box. Instead, it puts the characters in a position where they have to just use a technique they already know. A technique, a fusion, a thing that has already been done differently, mind you, in the canon, but that doesn't change the fact that the fusion in itself is sort of a boring, played-out concept. It was played out by the time the Buu Saga was done. We already had two main fusions, Vegeta and Gotenks. We also had the Fusion Reborn movie near that time. It was a played-out concept. I know a lot of people think it's cool, and I think it's cool. It does sell merchandise too, like crazy. And I think there's a lot of benefit to selling merchandise and things like that, but you could be merchandisable without actually being a fusion, without having to resort to poor narrative solutions. Is basically what fusion comes down to. It's a deus ex machina of sorts, especially Potara fusion, which is literally a machine of the gods. The Potara is a machine of the gods. This type of problem solving, this sort of avoiding the problem by using something so beyond the problem's capacity that it just obliterates the problem, is just boring. Now, if Gogeta gets beat and then they have to find some other way to do it, or the fusion it just doesn't even last remotely long enough, maybe, sure, maybe I'll give it a better rating. And I'll have to see it in action before I give final judgments, but I think avoiding the topic as a whole would be better. Just pretend Vegeta doesn't know the dance. That's it. It should be that simple. I hate to use the expression, but it is lazy writing. It's sort of a way that you painted yourself into a corner by making a villain so strong that he's stronger than the God of Destruction. Stronger than the Gods of Destruction, and even stated to be stronger than any villain so far, which means probably stronger than Jiren, who is already stronger than Gods of Destruction. Then you also say that Goku is getting close to the level of the gods, which implies his blue form is, or maybe blue Kaioken, whichever you want to take it as. And then you have this situation where the villain is clearly on a different level than Goku, and Goku was described to be at a different level than Vegeta, using that interview about Goku getting close to the gods. Now, if that's our scale, well, that doesn't actually leave a lot of room for interesting plot points, does it? It doesn't leave a lot of room for us to say, wow, this is going to be an interesting and not one-sided fight. No, it seems like this is going to be a pretty one-sided fight. It seems like it's going to be pretty one-sided until the fusion happens, and then we Fusion Reborn this right out of the bad situation. And that's it. I'm not going to lie. Gogeta was expected. I was trying to hope and pray that it wasn't true, but ever since Fusion Reborn was slated to be one of the movies re-released in theaters before the premiere of Broly, well, I think it was pretty obvious to most people what was going to happen. Hopefully he has more character than the one in Fusion Reborn, and a bit less over the top than the one in GT. A nice middle ground there would be a well-accepted character, and I'd actually enjoy seeing that. But I do think narratively it's a weak point to go to give any sort of credence towards fusion at this late stage of the game, where fusion should be a dead concept because we know it's an end of series concept, not a continuing series concept. That's why Potara got nerfed into the ground. But I'll talk about that more in another video. This one's been going on long enough. So what do you guys think about Gogeta in this movie? Leave your opinions, counterpoints in the comments down below. Subscribe if you want more anime videos. Check out the Patreon if you really want to support me, and click that little notification bell. That way you get notified every time I do just about anything on this website. But for now, guys, video outro.